the PCB design experts here at EMA Design Automation. If you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat window, and I'll do my best to answer them during the broadcast. If you see me looking around my screen, I'm watching the comments and reading my notes to make sure I stay on track, so just bear with me. So there are two ways to manage your PCB design rules: through a built-in rule management system in your ECAD software, and manually through spreadsheets and other methods. So manually is definitely doable, but it's prone to human error. So tonight we're going to talk about the 5 reasons to use your built-in rule management system in your PCB design software. So number 1, and probably the most important, is functionality. So the goal of every project is the same: to create a functional design. So it may seem simple, but as engineers, we know that there's a lot of factors that go in that you need to consider. Each project is going to have unique design specifications, and it's often up to you to translate those into your design requirements. This can be through specific technology, necessary power, current carrying capacity. And managing something like trace width seems simple, but when you start incorporating differential pairs, DDR, advanced technology for hundreds and thousands of traces, it gets complex really fast. And managing this manually with a spreadsheet is going to be cumbersome. There's going to be mistakes. It's going to be very hard to do. So by setting rules in your software, it's going to be easier to manage your design rules and to create a functional board. And once you have a functional design, it's time to produce, which brings us to number 2, manufacturability. So whether you're manually managing this or if it's in your software, it's usually not considered until the very end of the design. So what we need to do is start considering it earlier. Suppliers and PCB manufacturers have specific values and tolerances that you need to adhere to. This is based on their equipment and specific capabilities. So if you don't follow these, you're going to be stalled when you send your board to production. The manufacturer is going to come back with feedback with all the errors and issues, and you're going to have to go back into your design, adjust things, and resubmit your data. And this process can keep going on until all the errors are fixed, which could push your release date out weeks or months. So to avoid this and reach your time to market goals, you need to incorporate the manufacturing specifications in the PCB layout phase of the design, which is referred to as design for manufacturing, or DFM. So in DFM, you consider the fabrication, assembly, and manufacturing process in your PCB design phase. So now, on top of your design requirements, you're managing and keeping track of any issues that could be created in the manufacturing process, like acid traps and tombstoning. Number 3, reducing errors. So for large designs with hundreds and thousands of nets, there are bound to be errors and oversights. And a lot of companies put design reviews in place to check for this and find errors early, but then you're manually checking every net and component in the design to make sure it adheres to the via numbers that you need, the trace width, spacing, length, and any other rules that you have for your design. So using software, you can automatically flag any violations, and with the potential problems identified, it's easy to review and adjust the design as necessary. So if you do this manually, you're bound to miss something. Everyone does at some point in their careers. You will in the future, and it's going to affect your deadlines. Which brings us to number 4, eliminating design respins. So if you don't meet the manufacturer's specifications, like I said earlier, you're going to have to go back into the design and adjust. So with smaller designs, the space is limited between component placement and routing. And one small change can cause a ripple effect in your design. So even something as small as moving a component a little farther away from the board edge can result in a complete design respin. If you're manually checking your design rules, you're likely doing this right before you send your board to manufacturing. So it increases the risk of a complete design respin. And redesigns can also occur if the board doesn't function properly. So if you didn't implement your design requirements successfully, you could have poor signal quality and complete board failure. And now you've wasted the time manufacturing your board, testing and troubleshoot something that ultimately needs to be redesigned. So by setting the rules in your software, you can catch violations in real time during your PCB design, fix errors as they occur, and ultimately reduce the design respins and eliminate them completely. All these reasons ultimately boil down to one thing: saving time. So like I said, manually checking and managing your design rules is doable, but it's going to be time consuming. And any errors are going to result in you redoing part of the design or all of the design, making you miss your time to market goals. And that's especially if you've already produced a board and tested and troubleshoot it, and you have to go through the whole process again. So if you take time to set up your rules in the beginning, you can help reduce frustration and keep your design on track. So if you're not sure if you should be implementing rules within your software, here's a couple of questions to ask yourself. Are you working with multiple team members? If you are, chances are you're communicating your design rules through emails, Word docs, and spreadsheets. So something as simple as working off a wrong revision could have catastrophic results on your design. Are your designs complex? So the more complex your design is, the harder it is to manage your rules. You start incorporating high speeds, differential pairs for hundreds and thousands of nets. It gets complex very quickly. Are your designs being held up in manufacturing often? Are you waiting on manufacturers' feedback? How many times are you going through this cycle of submitting your data and fixing the design? And how much time are you wasting doing that? So if you answered yes to some or all of these questions, then you should seriously consider implementing rules in your PCB design software. And if you are considering this, here are some tips to get you on the right track. Know your software's capabilities and take time for training. Learn how to implement rules in your PCB design. Contact your manufacturer for specific values and tolerances. And learn about the manufacturing process. How the board is produced is going to have an effect on your design rules. Okay, we're going to open up the last 5 minutes for any questions you might have. If I don't get to all of them live, I will follow up with you in the next couple of days. So let's see. Can you recommend some learning resources for this topic? So industry magazines will have information on this. If you can also download the Hitchhiker's Guide to PCB Design for more information on the manufacturing process and design best practices. And you can do that from EMA's website. Is setting these design rules a surefire way to ensure your design will work? So nothing is a surefire way. But setting rules in your software will certainly help you produce a successful board quicker than the manual process. Let's see. How does the manufacturing process affect the board layout? Okay, so there are multiple ways that the manufacturing process can affect your board layout. PCBs are often manufactured in panels, and how you remove the PCB from the panel is going to have an effect on your design. So V-scoring, punching, tab routing, those are all going to have specific design requirements associated with them. Do you have some tips for beginner design engineers? I guess the main thing would be to understand the design process, how your board is manufactured. That's going to give you a lot of insight on the best ways to design your PCB. And along those lines, consult your manufacturer. So a lot of PCB suppliers have resources on their website, specific values and tolerances, calculators, current carrying capacity calculators, everything that you can use to implement design rules. Okay. That looks like all the questions for now. If I didn't get to your question, I will follow up with you in the next couple of days. As a recap, implementing rules in your software is going to ensure the functionality and manufacturability of your design while reducing errors and respins, ultimately saving you time. So you can visit our resources page at resources.ema-eda.com if you'd like to learn more information about design rules or other PCB topics through blogs, videos, tutorials, stuff like that. If you want to learn more about ORCAD's rules capabilities, you can visit us at ema-eda.com. Thank you for joining me tonight. Keep an eye out for our upcoming Facebook Live topic.